Grills?
Okay.
What it is?
What's going on in music where every single song sounds exactly the same now? Every single song. And it's not just hip-hop, it's music as a collective, where music now, it's almost like the artists have lost their creative spark. They have lost their originality. They have lost their heart. There were so many songs back in the day about people's mothers, about the struggle, about life in poor neighborhoods, and about so many different things, rising against...
Like the struggle.
Right, rising against corruption. So this is the essence of what hip-hop is. And it's, I feel like the culture of hip-hop has been so tarnished, and has been so misrepresented in this current age, is that now I think we need to go take a look at guys like Public Enemy and KRS-One, because those guys represent hip-hop to the core. They stood for something in their music. And we lost that. And I think it's time when we start bringing that back.
Right. No, I couldn't agree more. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Why Is Conspiracy? Episode 6 already. I can't believe time has been flying along. So thanking everybody for watching the show. Really appreciate all the likes, the comments, the subscribers, all that good stuff. You guys are keeping this going. We're only doing this for you guys. And as always, we want you to comment below. And always, always do your own research. We're bringing it to light so that you can find out about it and dig into it on your own. We've done our research on this side, of course, but it's about you learning and you being enlightened. So make sure you're doing yourself that favor. Go ahead and hit those books, hit those Google links, and find out what we're talking about, As always, I got my two co-hosts with me. Got my boy Monster in the building, and I got my boy Grills in the building. How you guys doing today?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for having me.
Of course.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Grills. What it is, man, I think today we're going to do something a little special, right? We've been hearing that a little bit more engagement, people want to be a part of the show, So I think today was a great day to have our first call-in guest. Let's bring a gentleman on that knows grills. His name is Miryam, and he's down in the Carolinas right now. Good afternoon, sir. Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, there you go. What's going on, Miryam?
Man, how you doing, brother? I'm doing good.
All right, bet. I got Grills here, who you know, and I got the third co-host of the show, Monster, in the building.
Welcome.
Hey, what's up, Monster? How you doing?
Good, man. Good. Welcome.
Thank you.
I like to just say congratulations on being our inaugural guest on the show.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Hopefully this is the first time of many, and some other guests that'll show up. Maybe you'll inspire some people out there that want to jump on the show too. So we appreciate you coming on and spending a few minutes with us. All right.
All right, no problem, man. That's just what it's all about: inspiring others, enlightening others.
Absolutely, man. Why don't you talk about that a little bit? We were going to get into a topic about music, and that's kind of like why we wanted to have you on the show today, to talk a little bit more, along what Grills opened up on, right? Music has changed along the way. I think a lot of it has stayed the same along the way because of what they need it to do, right? The way they use it, I don't think has the idea of how they want to use it hasn't changed. The way they might distribute it and execute it might be different now, but there was always an intention other than just entertainment with music, in my opinion.
Right.
So, we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So introduce yourself to the people, tell them a little bit about you, and then let's talk about this music, man, and the black magic and evil within.
Yeah, what's up, people? It's Miryam. I used to make music, loved making music. The culture wasn't about what it, the fame, the fortune. It was just about the love, the culture, back from what Gorilla spoke on about, KRS-One and, all other cool cats that before our times, brought a message, about the struggle, about, poverty and, the things that fighting the corruption of, the world that we live in and stuff like that. Nowadays, it's just, the music is completely lost its, I guess what you want to call it, potion. It's not what it used to be. So,
Definitely not.
Like they said, we definitely have to bring back that culture that everyone is used to, where a message where people are learning, the youth is learning. They are our future, you know.
Yeah, no, I get that. I get that. Mons, what's your take on that?
I have to agree with that. For me, KRS-One was also a big influence for me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember very clearly when he spoke at Dutchess Community College, and I was really excited about going. Nobody else wanted to go with me, so I wound up standing in the back by myself. I wasn't even really sure what to think about the whole thing. Man, it was such a formative part of my youth. The things that he talked about in there, not only just hip-hop culture, but he also had talked about the Illuminati at that point and how they may or may not even exist at this point. And that's really what set me off on a path of wanting to learn about the secret societies and everything. And you wouldn't think that that would have been born from hip-hop, but I think a lot of what has come out about the secret societies was born through hip-hop, whether it be KRS-One or Prodigy mentioning the Illuminati in his rap.
That's right.
That I know that set a lot of people off on their adventure. But for me, KRS-One, I mean, that's the teacher.
Right.
You know, I mean,
for me too. Grills, what's your take on that?
Well, KRS-One has done lectures and has spoken out to the people to give back, to give his knowledge, what he knows. And one thing I thought was interesting was how he held up a sign that said rock star. And he said, everybody say rock star with your mouth. Rock star, right? Now say it in your mind, in your head, your own voice in your head, say rock star. And everybody did it. He goes, who is that? You just heard your own voice speak. Your mouth didn't move. No vibrations came out of your mouth. So how did you, what voice did you hear? That is you. That's who you really are. So I think that obviously there's so much more than just music to that man. I guess you could go with Public Enemy as well and Professor Griff, whereas Professor Griff has been talking about hip-hop and the secret societies that run it from behind the scenes since day one. He's been against the powers that be since day one.
Dead Presidents too was big on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of guys. And then later down the road, Immortal Technique comes out and he's really pushing a lot of knowledge and information on a dark level.
Absolutely.
But that's what hip hop really is. It's that you're bringing the rest of the world in to this culture and to this lifestyle that is so real and it's so important.
Right.
And hip hop has been so generous where they've allowed every single race and culture and creed to come in and be a part of it. It's a universal language now.
Right. So when it comes to hip hop, the origins of it are, like we were talking about earlier off camera, the struggles in life is really what birthed hip hop, right? They needed something to do other than robbing, killing, selling drugs, and doing drugs, right? So for entertainment and for a better life, right? Not financially, just activity-wise, doing something that's not one of those negative things. That's where hip-hop came from, right? So when people started getting into the music, what they were talking about is what they were seeing.
Right.
And that's where the music became really heartfelt, because we all have eyes, and if you were walking in those same shoes, you could really identify with that music and what they were saying and the message behind it.
Hip-hop was created from the heart. Hip-hop is one of the only things we have today that was actually created from the heart. It was created... It's very, it's very special. It's very special energy, and that's why it's been so attacked, and now it's so controlled because of the potential.
So let's talk about that a little bit. So Miryam, let's talk about that. The humble beginnings of hip-hop, right? In your own words, what's the timeline for you for hip hop? You know, from the beginning stages, like what I was talking about, to the transition that is now. What's your 60-second timeline on that?
Timeline is a different change. You know, you go from KRS-One, EPMD, all these other artists who had great knowledge and great messages to spread, to what you just said recently. Now it's want to sell drugs and want to commit crimes and stuff like that. You know, it's more of, I say, programming now, of a timeline where, you know, everybody is not being themselves. Everybody's trying to be like the artist that they attach themselves to. I believe in energy. energies, whether it's positive or negative, whatever energy you attach yourself to is going to stick with you as well. It's going to rub off on you. You're going to tend to start thinking just like the person that you are receiving that energy from. So now it's just the same repetitive and over. There's nothing different in the messages. It's just like, oh, this is another artist right here. What is he saying different from the last artist that was, running the game for the past 5 to 10 years? It's nothing is changing, so then they try to throw in someone who has a little bit of knowledge, like a J. Cole, so we start to feel like, okay, hip hop has hope again, to bring it back its essence. But then they kind of like throw him back into like the shelf, as you want to say it, and then continue feeding us the propaganda, the genocide of rap and hip hop.
That's a big part of it too.
Yeah. What's your take on that?
Well, I mean, my first thought process is the phases that hip hop music has gone through. In the beginning, the message was don't do drugs at all. I mean, you even had rappers coming together to do, videos about it and stuff. And then we went into a phase of, the message was, well, I got rich off of selling drugs. So that was the phase then. Now we've moved into this phase of I get high and I do drugs and I overdose from it. I mean, but to me, there's a reason for that. Earlier we had talked about the executive. So there's an anonymous executive who was asked to testify in front of Congress. He refused to, but he wrote a letter to Congress and detailed his experience that he had. And what he claimed was that he was invited to a house in Los Angeles and that they sat down and in the beginning and they talked about promoting violent rap music for the sole purpose of filling up private prisons. Now, he claimed that he had to sign a non-disclosure agreement and that he was never allowed to speak about any of this. And he also claimed that they did not know what a private prison was during this meeting, that this was the first time they had ever even heard of this. And it sounds fantastic until you look into the second part of this, where he then went on to say once they filled the prisons, they stopped promoting rap music. And you won't see $1 million rap video now. So that sort of lends credence to what the man was saying. And it's kind of a scary thought if you think about it. I mean, that's a really big rabbit hole of a conspiracy to go down.
Right. It's like setting you up to fail on purpose for their benefit.
Correct.
That's what it comes down to. Do you know the gentleman's name?
It's always been anonymous.
Oh, it's always been anonymous.
I researched it before we did the show here to see if there was. 1991 was the year that he claimed that this occurred. But there's never been any name put forward. It's always been anonymous. You can research this. You can actually read the letter that he sent to Congress. But because he wouldn't actually come to Congress and testify face to face, it was never taken that seriously. I mean, plus these people have unlimited amounts of money to throw around. What do they care? They made the money off of the record industry, and if you believe that, they made the money off of the back end of filling these prisons up.
Yeah, man. It's super interesting just thinking back to what our guest was saying that, right, you were supposed to be rapping and stuff to not be doing bad things. And then it turned into rapping about all the bad things, right? And then glorifying that. Right. So to that point, Grills, you talk a lot about selling your soul and black magic within hip hop and music in general, not just hip hop. You know what I mean? Take us down that road.
Okay. So I think that as far as music, the whole concept of selling your soul has always been there. And this is even before me. I mean, this goes back a long time. But I think that at some point, because like I said, hip-hop was one of the only things on the planet that actually came from the place of the heart, came from natural creativity. It wasn't, created in a boardroom somewhere. Right. With agenda, right? So at one point, I think around the time that NWA started getting real popular, is that they really started almost doing the same stuff that they do with the rock records or the country records, as far as putting spells on the songs. Now they have rooms in certain studios that are like set up where you can do like rituals You know, they have like altars, and they'll play the song backwards, and they'll do spells and rituals to a song. And what it does, and the reason why, is because they're able to cast spells onto people and put negative energy to people they wouldn't be able to reach prior. So it's an infiltration of the dark side that is a part of government, banking, corporations, entertainment, Hollywood. So it's connected to that. And the whole concept of selling your soul. You know, they want you to give up what you believe in. They want you to give up your soul essence, your energy to them. And then once you do, they got you, right? And it's like it's a total control of the artist, and it's very serious because once you do sell your soul, they got you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot that comes with that. I feel like.
I would think so.
I'm having a visual moment that's coming to mind here.
Okay, good.
That cover shoot for Double XL magazine. It's what, 2 or 3 years ago when they're like, "This is the new freshman class of rappers," where it was like all the worst rappers that you could possibly ever think of. These Trippy Red, all these. That's like the visual that I'm having right now based off of what he just said.
Right.
Yeah. Miryam, what's your take on what was just said with all that stuff, selling your soul and all that?
Yeah, they gotta break the spirit in you. They gotta break the heart, and that's what they prey on, the strings of the hearts of the people. And, these people get into something that they didn't know, coming in. But then as they get in, it's just like, you sign that deal. It's like, it's over. It's over. They control you. They own you. They want you to say this, say that, the way they want you to say it, the way they want you to do it. And, the black magic behind it. And, he said, them putting spells on the music. Yes, that is actually true. Actually true, 100%. It's kind of like what he said earlier about listening to a song on the radio that's playing like 20 times, on one radio station, about 50 times on another radio station, is just to program something into your mind to always listen to it, and it's stuck in your mind. It could be a song that you don't even like, and it just sticks in you. Like you catch yourself singing the song and don't even know why you're singing it because you don't like it, but you heard it so much. It's a spell, and it's very dark and very evil and very twisted. Where from people come in the industry, like you could say, like Kanye for an example, came in, positive message at first, and then once he got his feet really in there, and he had to do the things that he had to do in order to be who he is. It kind of broke his spirit from who he actually was. He's not himself anymore. And I think that takes a toll on an artist, where sometimes I believe they do want to tell the truth. But, you can't Aaliyah out here. You can't rock the boat.
Right. Yeah, I think that, as a normal consumer of music, this stuff, you never give thought to this stuff at all. You know what I mean? You have to have somebody like kind of point it out to the average consumer, because they're just not thinking this way. And this is why the show is named what it's named, because I'm always going to bring it back to this. Why? Why in the music is there...
People love music. So that's such an easy way to control the mind. Because think, people are always with earphones in. People love music. So if you know, and you've studied humans enough to know that they like to be entertained in specific ways, you're going to target them in those ways.
Well, there's an angle here that not a lot of people think about, because some people don't even actually believe in this, and that has to do with the chakras of the body and the vibrations of music. So one of the conspiracies here, and one of the secrets of the Illuminati that many people don't know, and we've actually touched on this in the last couple of shows, there's different frequencies. So music used to be tuned to 432 hertz frequency.
Okay.
That was the natural vibration of things.
Okay.
It was changed. It was changed to 440 hertz.
Okay.
Which, the reason why it was changed is because 432 hertz, what happens is, as each note, as you move from A to A minor to B, and you go on a scale from an eighth to a quarter to a 32 note, depending on what you're playing, it changes the geometric pattern. So the music is actually related at 432 hertz to geometric patterns, which then creates a universal language. And this goes back to the last episode where we talked about Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and how the UFO communicated with the people by going boop, 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 boop. And that was related because they were able to relate it back to shapes. So they were able to translate it back to an English language.
Right.
So that's one of the reasons why, because they say that 528 hertz is what can repair water cellular structure.
Okay.
So all of these ideas with the frequencies are to repair your body, and also to destroy your body.
Right.
So if the music is at 440 hertz, you're not getting the natural benefits of the vibrations of the earth that you would naturally get. And plus, it's not sending waves out into the universe, creating this language, which is something that people don't think about.
Yeah.
Because every single thing, every movie that happens on earth, every song, everything that's transmitted by radio is also transmitted into outer space. So if somebody is coming to find us, they're hearing all this on the way here. So the music was changed
Right.
so that it didn't vibrate this frequency.
I agree 100%.
That's a very, very interesting perspective that you bring up right there. Miryam, do you have something to add to that? You sounded like you liked that last point.
Yeah, that was very deep, because it's like you're putting a message in the airwaves, and it's kind of like a boomerang effect. You send out a message, and it'll have an effect, whether it's positive or negative. And even if you stating something considering yourself in your own music, whatever it is, the message is, whether it's positive or negative, it'll come back to you no matter what. And I believe in what he just said is very deep, like outer space, like whoever's coming to get us is also hearing these messages and sending them back, regardless of, whether we like it or not. It's just, if you write it down, and then you can write it down on paper, but as soon as you express these words are very powerful, and they bounce back. But that last part was very deep. I felt that.
Yeah, no doubt. Monster tends to do that sometimes.
But that also goes when you earlier you mentioned the Dead Prez, and that song hip hop.
Right.
That song was purposely made with that frequency to purposely drive people crazy. That they gave several interviews at the time saying that we did, because people didn't really understand what's this driving like bass in this song, and that's what they said. Like this is the purpose behind this was. They said scientists said that this frequency drives people crazy. So we went to the producer and said we want this frequency and we want to rap over this.
Yeah.
And I mean that's
another interesting point is it's not just the music itself that has I guess you could call this satanic or demonic influence. It's also the behind the scenes, the parties, the cultures, the music videos. Look at the symbols, look at the hand signs that all of the rappers are doing. You see the pyramid, you see everybody puts the 666 with their eye, right? They like the OK over their eye, right? They've all done it, and they're all on magazine covers do it. You'll see them on the Time magazine with the M behind everybody's head, symbolizing the horns, right? So there's you'll see a lot of these celebrities in the bathtub, and when they're in the bathtub, whether it's blood or water, it represents blood. It's ritual stuff. There's a lot of spirit cooking and really weird stuff that goes on behind the scenes that they feel like when they believe that if you tap into the dark energy, that's going to save you, because that's what controls the world. If you believe in God and Satan, Satan runs the world. So if Satan runs the world, that's why they're tapping into that evil energy, is because they figure that that's how they're going to get their money. That's how they're going to get their riches. They're not going to get that from the Creator. And it's also a perversion. It's like in the Bible when, Jesus is getting crucified by Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate didn't even want to kill Jesus. But he went to the people and said, I'm going to give you either Jesus, the truth, the light, the Son of God, our risen Savior, right? Or I'm going to give you Barabbas, a known criminal. He's a thief. And with one word, the whole crowd said, give us Barabbas. And that symbolizes that the people of this earth mostly support the evil. They support the bad. They support what's like them, because they're all corrupt. They're all, making bad moves, bad choices. So it's to corrupt the minds, but it's also, it's everywhere. The symbology, the stuff that you see in the music videos, the way that they mistreat women. It's just so disconnected from the actual culture of where it began and where it started.
You know, it's interesting, and I know technology plays a big part in what I'm about to say, but it's very interesting to look at time and just a timeline of events and pop culture and stuff. You know, the sex tape has become so prevalent and relevant in these current times, right? Where back in the day, sex tape, they had camcorders and stuff, but people weren't finding tapes like that. It wasn't like the thing to put out, you know.
Well, because it's usually used for blackmail.
Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they're all blackmail. That's why they,
And now they use it for promotion.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They try to promote themselves with it.
Because it's a way to humiliate yourself. You're humiliated, right? And they get off on that too. They like to humiliate the celebrities.
Yeah, it's very interesting with this whole thing. Miryam, not to have you quiet back there. With this music and the direction that, let's just say they, right? We like to say they a lot on here. What's the end goal in your mind with everything that they're trying to do, in your opinion, with music? What's the end game for them? What's a win for that side?
The continued dumbing down the masses, the destruction of, you know, every person, whether or not it's not directed at one race of people, it's just a collective of people, every race. You know, I believe it's just that, you know, there's not going to be no positivity. They don't want no Lauryn Hills. They don't want no, you know, KRS-Ones. They don't want none of that. They don't want no positive. They don't want nobody to be awakened to the truth, even though they're putting it subliminally in our faces. But, you know, these people are already, you know, cast underneath the spells of these people, of these rituals. That's why you see so many people who are artists who've, you know, back in the 90s are still around, because they have this energy about them, because they still have these fans that still love them no matter what they do, you know. And that's what I really believe in. At the end goal is still the same goal, is to bring destruction to the youth. You know, the inspiration they have on people. And like a lot of artists nowadays are, you know, willingly to show that, you know, I'm willing to sacrifice myself and willing to do a ritual live on Instagram. And, you know, now you got masses of young people that they influence and are inspired by them, that will be inspired to do the same thing. So it's not a secret no more. They're not hiding no more. It's like people know, and this is what it is, and we're going to continue, you know, showing our hand. And only a collective few of people who are chosen to wake up and see these things, I believe this is just a blessing from God, that, you know, a collective hand of people know what's going on, believe what's going on. Don't call it a conspiracy theory. This is actual facts.
Right. The conspiracy is always the why, brother, and that's why the show exists, right? Because you're right. If it's actually happening, that wasn't the conspiracy. It's what they told you why or what it was is the conspiracy. You know what I mean? They're never nobody ever tells you what their end goal is unless, like a salesman, they want to sell you this car and get this money. That's pretty straightforward. You know?
Yeah, right.
You know, with this stuff, it's just not that way. So it's interesting when you guys talk about influencing the youth, because, you know, we always say the youth is the future, right? And I've caught myself many a times in the last 10 years really, really shaking my head at the youth nowadays, right? And social media and these phones have come so far in the last 6-7 years that the brainwashing going on with these kids is going on at an alarming rate. I can't even hold a conversation. When I find a youngin' that I can actually hold a conversation with, I'm very impressed nowadays. You know what I mean? Because most of these kids only know their phone and Angry Bird and Twitch. You know, that's all they know. And you know, I don't exist to them. This world where, you know, people actually struggle and go to work and and pay their bills and have heartache and pain. They don't know their heartache and pain is because their phone's about to die. You know what I mean? That's the only heartache and pain they come across nowadays. They're so insecure with how they are that they just hide behind the phone and just stay there. And there'll be this huge personality on their Instagram, but they're so nothing in real life.
In reality, oh man, that's deep.
And you can't even hold a conversation in reality. Same exact individual will host like an Instagram live for an hour straight. You know what I mean?
Because right now we're in a culture where we believe that it's all about, oh, I'm so lit. Oh, look at me. Look how great I am.
Is now.
And it's supposed to be more about, you know, lifting the spirit up and really finding who you really are.
Right.
Because, you know, and I think that you know, a lot of the young kids are influenced by hip-hop, and what's happened is that there's been so many artists, not just rappers, but in the entertainment industry that have died prematurely, or there's been controversy or conspiracy behind their deaths. I believe that a lot of these guys, I believe that there's some type of contract that they're signing and they're making a deal with somebody where they sign for 5 years or 10 years, but in 5 years or 10 years, you get your riches fast, you get on the magazine covers, but in 5 years or 10 years, on that date that you signed, they come and they get you. And they blame it on a suicide or you overdosed. Yep. But I believe that a lot of these guys are knowingly going out. They come into the game knowing that their time is short. And because they made a deal, that's the deal. And I think the reason why is because this is, you know, higher up, obviously. This is, you know, part of an operation that exists not just in music but in all aspects, where they've been able to infiltrate the music, and they have hitmen, maybe some mafia guys, go in and just, you know, take these guys out. But they know it's going to happen.
It's interesting that you bring it there, right? Like,
rapid fire.
Yeah, like I definitely want to get into the rapid fire. And maybe Miryam, you can stick around for our rapid fire. What we like to do here is just, I spit out a topic and the gentlemen give me their 30, 45-second little synopsis on the topic. Can't get too in depth, but just an overview of how you feel about it, okay? You down for that?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
All right. And what I want to say when it comes to hip-hop and the influence within, I just feel like nowadays the rapper is not the famous one. 90% of people listening to hip-hop right now don't know who Mickey Fax is. They don't know who Fred the Godson is. They don't know, like, the artist that is independent, can actually rap, and has a multitude of stuff, right? A catalog behind them. They have no idea these people exist, right? Who they do know are the Trippie Reds, you know what I mean? And XXX, you know, R.I.P. to
the industry plants.
You're right. Yeah. And my point with all that is that what Grills was saying about how, like, they've made a deal, I don't necessarily think the artists themselves know that they made that deal.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think that they're just
they do also.
Yeah, no,
I think
definitely.
they're just the puppet being played is what I think.
And, that's that too, though.
You know,
it's definitely that too.
You know, but I don't think they know.
A lot of them don't know what they're getting into.
Right.
They have no idea what they're getting. They think, because I think a lot of them don't think it's real. What do you think about that?
I mean, I agree, but take somebody like the Spice Girls, for example. I mean, they didn't really have any talent. They didn't bring themselves together as a group of 5 people like, hey, you can play the guitar, hey, you can play the drums, hey, you could do this. No, they were brought together.
People was picked. They were scouts out there,
right?
That being watched basically from however long they've been making music, or somebody discovered them and put them onto the higher ups, and it was like, oh, this person can do this. This person will be good for this group, and it's all being put together. Just like making a band with Diddy.
Yep. I was told that a lot of the art they're actually chosen. That you don't get, like, you're chosen. You don't make it, you get chosen. And I think this is what happened to Cuban Link, whereas Cuban Link was one of the best rappers at the time in the late 90s. When Big Pun passed away, it was Cuban Link's turn. Everybody knew he was the next best. He was right there. And I think that something went wrong with Cuban Link and Fat Joe, and I don't think Cuban wanted to sell his soul. And I don't think he did. And I think there's a lot, and now Cuban Link's music is not allowed to be played anywhere. because of his problem with Fat Joe. Now look at all of the rappers that have had beefs. Not one of them, as far as I can remember, as far as the major beefs in hip hop, they didn't get anybody completely blacklisted where nobody's going to play their music. Right, so this is what Fat Joe did with Cuban Link, whereas nobody was able to play his music. So I think if you stand up to that establishment or to that evil side of the industry and you refuse to do that, they will blackball you, they will blacklist you, and they won't play your stuff.
What he was just talking about happened to R.A. the Rugged Man on Def Jam Records, and Method Man made a video about this because Method Man didn't believe at the time that what R.A. the Rugged Man was telling him, like, hey, they're blacklisting me because of what I'm rapping about, you know, because of what I'm saying. He's like, no, you're hot, until Method Man said, yeah, I want him on my record.
Right.
And then,
They
you
were
know,
like, nah.
and his own record label, he signed to his own record label. His own record label's like, no, you can't have him on the record. And, you know, Method Man's the hottest thing going at the time. Yeah. And they're telling him, no, you can't have him on the record because he's blacklisted, you know, and he's still blacklisted.
That's interesting. Yeah, 24K was whack, man.
But it's all, you know,
you bumped your head.
All this stuff is all about control. You know, that's what the whole industry is about, just trying to control people and the music and everything. When I was researching for this show, I came across a Lupe Fiasco interview where he talked about he had a record, Kick Push is the name of it. It was a hot record, right? So it was bubbling. He had some connections at the radio station. So they started playing it. And it was on fire. But Atlantic Records didn't have any control over the record. Like zero. Okay. So what did they do? They flew down to the Bahamas and bought the rights to the sample from the original artist. Okay. So they would have control over the record. Gotcha. That's what kind of a length that they went to just to control this man and his music. Because they didn't have a foothold or a marker on him at that time. Right, you know? Right. He's no longer on Atlantic Records either, so it didn't really work out too well for him in the end.
All right, let's do a little rapid fire. Short and concise is the name of the game, but I want to feel what you feel about it, right? So let's go with Miryam real quick. You're going to set it off for us, bro. What is your take on the Biggie Tupac situations and I don't want to say that they passed away. What do you think about Biggie and Tupac's passing?
Oh man, that was something that very devastating for hip hop. Out of both, I'm gonna say I was truly a Tupac fan. You know, all respects to Biggie and very talented artist, but just the two different frequencies. Then Pac tapped into another frequency that, you know, more than what he was sent to do. He pretty much went along with the whole agenda as well. But the death and the passing of both, I think that was the era when hip hop really died. I think that's when it started going down the drain.
So let me ask you this. Is there a conspiracy in there, or did these two people legit just get murdered?
It's hard to say, but I'm gonna say a conspiracy.
Okay. All right.
Just off the base of Tupac and his knowledge about Machiavelli and, you know, the whole story about how Machiavelli faked his death, and everybody believed that Tupac faked his death somehow, some way. He even spoke his own death, rapped about his own death on his last album. And Biggie also said something about himself not being, you know, deceased as well on Life After Death.
Yeah.
It's the whole, because these guys know they're going to die.
You know?
They knew they were going to die. So that's my opinion. I think that they were killed, but it's because it now goes back to a contract. It goes back to a destiny thing, right? We'll make you this big star.
What was the last song Biggie recorded? You're nobody until somebody kills you.
Yeah. Well, that was the last song on the album.
I believe it's the last he recorded.
You know?
I believe that's actually the last song he's recorded.
What's your take on there?
I'm a hard yes on a conspiracy.
On both of them?
On both of them. I think they're connected.
Okay.
The reason why I believe they're connected is because both of them had a very strong hold of the inner city youth.
Yes.
On the East Coast,
Yep.
everybody vibed with Biggie.
Yep.
On the West Coast, everybody vibed with Tupac.
Yep.
And at one point, they were melding together,
Yep.
doing songs together, hanging out together.
Yep.
And to me, I think the government was afraid that Tupac would militarize Biggie, and then they would like basically show everybody,
Join forces.
right? That they would join forces and teach everybody from the hood, and then that would be it. You know, then there would be an uprising that could not be stopped. You know, I mean, that's how I feel about it.
When you say that, Mons, you make me think of Nipsey Hussle.
And I think he's part of that too.
You know. All right, so Miryam, how about Bob Marley and the idea that he was killed by the CIA? You believe that or no?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, none of this stuff, like these people hold messages. These people were very powerful. These people would be able to lead the youth in the right direction, and music industry wouldn't be the way it is. These people had to be taken out regardless if they liked it or not. But it's just that true deep inside, you're not gonna be someone you're not. You're gonna be your true self. You're gonna speak what you truly feel. And when you know something, it's gonna eat you alive to not spread the truth. When you know you could save a life or two.
Got you. And what's your take on that, Grills?
I agree 100%. Bob Marley was very inspirational. He
Super inspirational.
absolutely.
I mean, talk about good energy.
Absolutely. And yeah, I would have to agree. There's definitely a conspiracy there.
Definitely a conspiracy. And your take is?
You can actually read the account of the CIA officer who, on his deathbed, actually gave the account of how he killed Bob Marley. He said he brought him the tennis shoes and that he put a needle inside that contained a rare form of cancer. And when he tried him on, it pricked his toe.
Same thing I heard. Something I read upon.
And then when he went to Miami a few weeks later, because he died within 3 weeks of contracting this. And I've always suspected, because they actually did try to kill him at the One Love concert. Before the One Love concert, he was uniting the two factions in Jamaica together for the first time ever. And they shot him up, and he didn't die. He actually took the stage all shot up, and you know that was the whole Unity One Love concert.
People forget that part.
They do forget that part.
Because like that doesn't get brought up very often.
And that's part of the conspiracy. They want you to forget that part.
Of course.
They want you to forget that unity part.
Right.
Bob Marley's message was, we're all in this together.
Right.
One love, baby.
Right.
You know, and they couldn't have that.
It's crazy how the good ones get taken away. It seems like we could talk a lot about the whole selling your soul and people's lives getting cut short. Well, what seems to be cut short. You know, Kobe Bryant's a real recent one. You know, Nipsey Hussle's another one. The last rapid fire I have for you guys, and I'm going to start with Monster because this was actually one of Monster's favorite rap groups of all time. When we talk about Prodigy of Mobb Deep and his passing, there's a little controversy there if you really were paying attention on how he died and the circumstances there. Because, you know, we all know he had sickle cell and everything, and they kind of just lumped it in with, oh, it was, you know, some complications with that, da-da-da.
Right.
What's your take on the Prodigy passing?
I think he was murdered also. The last album that he released, his last solo album, was the Hegelian Dialect, which dealt exclusively with secret societies and the Illuminati.
Right.
Because he was the one who was credited in hip-hop for really bringing forth that, you know, from his rap from back in the day, you know, that's been sampled numerous times.
Right.
He was in the hospital quite a few times for the sickle cell thing after partying nonstop.
Right.
You know, and the hospital where he died in Las Vegas is one of the best hospitals in the entire country. So he just happened to die.
And they said choked on an egg?
That's what they say. And, you know, our last episode was about Hollywood and Masonic symbols. Well, the egg is something we haven't discussed yet, but that's one of the origin symbols. So, I mean, you know, again, they're sending the message to their people, hey, we silenced them.
Got you.
That's my opinion.
And what's your take on him, Grills?
I agree 100%. There's a video of Prodigy talking about how he saw a UFO out in his window and he was having crazy experiences. Now, he's a He's a rapper, right? He's, you know, just making music, but the stuff that he was going through was blowing his mind. And he was writing letters in jail. When they locked him up, he was writing letters in jail about it. And he knew a lot about it. You know, he knew a lot about Adam Weishaupt and how the, you know, the actual Illuminati that was birthed in 1776. And he knew all about that. So he was very well read, well educated, and I believe that there is a conspiracy there. I believe he very well could possibly have been taken out. Exactly.
Miryam, what's your take on the Prodigy passing?
Conspiracy. Absolutely.
Now, conspiracies happen, though. That's the thing. People think that conspiracy means fake. Conspiracy does not mean fake, and I want everybody watching to drill that into their mind. Conspiracy does not mean fake.
Right.
Conspiracies happen. They're real things. You're not going to call a hurricane, oh, that's just the hurricane theory. Hurricanes don't happen. No, I mean, hurricanes happen. Just
comment below about that. But no, finish your take, though, Miryam.
Yeah, Prodigy. The first time I ever heard about the Illuminati was that one gem, you know, Illuminati, want my mind, soul, and my body.
Right.
And after that, you just, you know, do your research upon it. It's not like you heard it once and it disappeared. It's like after that, you hear Prodigy, he reference it, he'll drop a gem every other song. And it's like, well, there's got to be some truth that there's some secret society. And, you know, this is what's going on. This is the evils behind the dark scenes of who's pulling all the strings on everything in this music industry. And, you know, he definitely was taken out because he held a lot of gems, a lot of knowledge. And they had to take him out to silence him. What do I say? Silence of the lamb. They got to silence the lamb.
Yeah, man. In this case, it's almost like silence the lion, because it's like we got to take this one out because he has a little bit too much pride. He's got a little bit too much power. He has a little bit too much influence.
Right.
He's dangerous to us. We got to take him out. If he truly was a lamb, they leave him alone, just like they leave me alone. You
too
know
many
what I mean?
people listening to him is really
that's what I'm saying. Too much influence, too much power, too much pride in what he's saying. He's saying it with conviction. You know what I'm saying? Very, very interesting. The music business, man, has always seemed very, very cruel. It always seemed very, like, jagged. Like, from the outside looking in, it looks like impossible to get into sometimes, you know? And it always did seem like it's like a cult almost, like to get into it, you had to know somebody, you know? And now with the way social media is and these devices we have, you know, anybody can shoot a video now and have a voice. So it's almost like you can have a voice now and have your little independent and say all the stuff that we're saying on record and everything, and they won't really mess with you because now you're just like one of like a million people that's saying it, and you don't really matter. That's why we have to just turn the volume up on the bullshit that we want you to hear. You know, Trippie Reds. I don't mean to keep getting on him, but he's the one name that keeps coming to mind. But like, you know, Kodak Black, who can't even speak like English when he's just talking to you. You know what I'm saying? This is a dude, you know, how about the kid Blueface? You know what I mean? Like,
oh, man.
You know, these people can't even rap, but they turn the volume up on those. You know, but not Mickey Fax and not Immortal Technique and not those other ones.
J. Cole.
J. Cole's and stuff. They turned J. Cole down.
Right.
They turned Kendrick down. You don't hear about Kendrick and J. Cole no more.
No more, not at all.
You hear about them in the lyricist discussion. But you don't hear about them like, you know, Kendrick had a couple of commercials, like, you know, mainstream commercials where his music is being used. Where are those now? I never hear Kendrick and J. Cole music on TV no more. You know what I mean?
Because they're dumbing down the people.
They turned it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and, you know, like,
dumb down the people. And also, one thing is that Kendrick Lamar had dropped a gem also that spoke volumes. He said, I'm not black, call me a Hebrew Israelite. So when you speaking like that, it's like people wonder, like, what? Like, huh? I'm not black, I'm a Hebrew Israelite. Now people want to research what is a Hebrew Israelite.
Right. And that's how what we're doing with this show right now.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And kind of enlightening people. They're hearing terms that maybe they have never heard before, you know? with that, I think we have really dove into this music topic.
Definitely.
And there's a lot more to come with this. Probably episode 7 is going to be very closely related to this episode. And we'll get into that episode 7. We're going to talk a little bit more about words and spells. And, there's things that we wanted to talk about with maritime laws and birth certificates. And I know, shout out Angie out there. She wants to hear a little bit more about how your social is really an identification number for your business contract and things of that nature.
They're going to have to keep listening.
They're going to have to keep listening. So, Miryam, we really appreciate your input on the show. You were actually very good. We didn't know what to expect. So I thank you for your time today, for spending, almost an hour with us. And
thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it, man. A lot of knowledge, man.
Yeah,
thank you, Grills, Monster. Thank you for that one thing that you said about about somebody's coming for us and we're sending this, and however you said it, that was very good. That was very deep.
Yeah, the frequencies out in outer space that we're sending out that people are peeping on the way in. Yeah.
Right.
Very interesting. But thank you for joining us. Like I say, maybe this won't be the last time. We'll be able to hook up again on some other topics and stuff. But salute to you, and stay safe out there. And if you want to give shout outs to anybody, do that now. Otherwise, we will see you next time, sir.
Shout out to you guys, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and keep pushing. I hope for the success and the growing of the subscribes and the audience. A lot of knowledge, a lot of wisdom. Do your research, and one love.
One love, man. Peace
One
out.
love.
Grills, take us home, baby.
Well, I guess I'll bring it back to the unity like Monster always likes to speak on. And I think it is very important, because I think at the end of the day, we all love music, we all love movies, and we all love entertainment, we all love food, and we all love our families. So we all have a lot more in common with each other than we think. And I think that if we start to create better music ourselves, because there's so many people nowadays trying to make music, whether you're singing or you're rapping or you're in a band. So my message to everybody is to really try to make music from the heart, and really try to do something that nobody else is doing. Speak about something you're going through. Speak about something that's an important topic that's going on right now, because that's what we need right now. And I think that if people really, really try to connect with themselves and with the higher vibrations and with a more positive message, I think that it will stand out a little more, and I think it could definitely inspire a lot of people, and we got to stick together. And I think that music is a universal language. Hip hop is a universal language, and there's no there's no taking people out of that. Everybody's locked into that. Everybody loves music. So if we can look at what we have in common with each other instead of what makes us different. What do we have that's similar to each other instead of different?
Right.
So let's stick together.
Right. And Monster, he took us home, man. Please close the door on this episode.
Just, unity.
Yeah.
That's what we just got to keep pushing. We're all in this together. Whether you're into hip-hop music or country music or jazz music or whatever. It's music. Enjoy it. Enjoy it for what it is. Don't let the corporations control you, and just like what you like, and live your life and treat others with respect.
There you go. And this is one little side note that I'll give you guys a little food for thought. I want to ask all the audience out there that's watching, you like music. When's the last time you went and found an artist or a song that you like that you didn't hear on the radio, or that you saw on Instagram, or you saw on, Facebook? When did you go dive in and go look for that new artist? When's the last time you did that? I'm sure a lot of the music you've been listening to was put in front of you. Go look for something that you like. And if you don't like what you're hearing, shout out to DJ Tech One. For all you hip-hop heads out there that say hip-hop's changed and it's whack now. Yeah, the stuff that they're putting in front of you is whack now. But I implore you to go and look, because there's pretty dope albums out there right now people like Royce the 5'9", KRS put out an album. All these dope hip-hop artists that put out albums that you would really like, but you're not checking for them, you're not going to look for it. So try that. Let me know below. Tell me what you found, all that good stuff. On behalf of my two co-hosts, thank you for joining me. This is Finally TV, Why is Conspiracy, Episode 6.